Today we are focusing on the volunteer state. Moving hazardous materials through Tennessee requires a deep understanding of both federal and state safety laws. Let's get you ready to pass the Tennessee HazMat endorsement exam with confidence. What federal regulation governs hazardous materials transportation by road in Tennessee? 49 CFR Parts 100 to 185. These are the hazardous materials regulations administered by PHMSA that set the safety standards for the entire country. Next question. What state agency enforces hazmat transportation regulations on Tennessee highways? Tennessee Department of Safety and Homeland Security. Specifically, the Tennessee Highway Patrol is the boots-on-the-ground agency ensuring compliance on the road. Let's move on. What is the HazMat endorsement on a CDL and what does it authorize? An endorsement allowing a CDL holder to transport hazardous materials. It authorizes you to move materials defined in 49 CFR, but only after you pass a background check and a written test. Continuing, what background investigation is required to obtain a HazMat endorsement in Tennessee? A TSA, Transportation Security Administration, threat assessment. This includes fingerprinting and a full criminal history review to ensure national security. Next point, how often must a Tennessee CDL HazMat endorsement holder renew the TSA security threat assessment? Every 5 years. This renewal usually happens concurrently with your CDL renewal to keep your background status current. Let's keep going. Who is disqualified from obtaining a HazMat endorsement in Tennessee? Non-U.S. citizens without lawful permanent residency or those with certain felony convictions. Federal law restricts this endorsement to those who meet specific legal and safety criteria. Next question. What are the 9 hazard classes applicable in Tennessee? Class 1, explosives. 2, gases. 3, flammable liquids. 4, flammable solids. 5, oxidizers. 6, toxic. 7, radioactive. 8, corrosive. And 9, miscellaneous. You must know these classes to correctly placard and segregate your load. Let's move on. What is the HazMat table in 49 CFR and how is it used by Tennessee drivers? A federal table listing materials by proper shipping name. Drivers use it to find UN numbers, hazard classes, and the specific labeling and placarding requirements for any chemical. Continuing, what is the proper shipping name, PSN, in HazMat transportation? The official name listed in the HazMat table. This name must be used exactly as written on all shipping papers and package markings. Next point, what information is mandatory on a HazMat shipping paper in Tennessee? Proper shipping name, UN, NA number, hazard class, packing group, total quantity, and a 24-hour emergency phone number. Missing even one of these details can result in heavy fines during an inspection. Let's keep going. Where must shipping papers be located when the HazMat driver is in the cab? Within immediate reach of the driver or in the door pouch. They must be instantly accessible if an emergency responder needs to identify your cargo. Next question. Where must shipping papers be placed when the driver exits the vehicle? On the driver's seat or in the door pocket. They must be clearly visible to anyone looking into the cab from the outside. Let's move on. What is required of the 24-hour emergency contact number on a HazMat shipping paper? It must be monitored at all times by someone knowledgeable about the material. The person answering must be able to provide immediate technical guidance for emergency response. Continuing, what is Chemtrec and what is its emergency phone number? A 24-hour chemical emergency response center. 1-800-424-9300. They provide technical assistance to drivers and responders during a chemical incident. Next point, what is the National Response Center and when must it be contacted? A federal center, 1-800-424-8802, contacted when a reportable quantity is released. In Tennessee, you must call them immediately if a spill meets the federal reporting threshold. Let's keep going. What is a reportable quantity, RQ, in HazMat transportation? An EPA-designated amount of a substance that triggers mandatory notification if spilled. Every regulated chemical has a specific weight that, if leaked, requires federal intervention. Next question. What does RQ, appearing before a material name on a shipping paper, indicate? The shipment contains a hazardous substance at or above the reportable quantity. This alerts the driver and responders that a spill of this specific package must be reported. Let's move on. What are placards and what size must they be? Diamond-shaped signs at least 10.8 inches on each side. They are placed on the vehicle exterior to warn everyone of the hazards inside. Continuing. On how many sides of a vehicle must HazMat placards be displayed? All 4 sides. Front, rear, and both sides must be clearly marked so the hazard is visible from any direction. Next point. What is the difference between a HazMat placard and a label? Placards go on the vehicle, 10. 8 inches. Labels go on the individual packages, 4 inches. Labels identify the specific danger of a drum or box, while placards identify the entire load. Let's keep going. When must a Table 1 HazMat material be placarded in Tennessee? Any amount. Table 1 materials, like 1 explosives or poison gas, are so dangerous they must always be identified, even if you only have one small package. Next question. When does a Table 2 HazMat material require placarding in Tennessee? When 1,001 pounds or more is present in the vehicle. If the total weight of Table 2 materials is 1,000 pounds or less, placards are generally not required. Let's move on. When is the dangerous placard permitted in Tennessee? When 2 or more Table 2 categories total 1,001 pounds or more. You use it if no single category individually requires its own placard, simplifying the marking for mixed loads. Continuing. What is the packing group system and what does PGI mean? It classifies the degree of danger. PGI is the greatest danger. PGI requires the strongest, most secure packaging standards because the chemical is highly hazardous. Next point. What is a poison inhalation hazard, PIH, material and what placard does it require? A gas or liquid toxic when inhaled. It requires a specific poison inhalation hazard placard. Responders must know immediately if a leak creates a deadly toxic cloud. Let's keep going. What is the Emergency Response Guidebook, ERG, and where must it be kept? A guide for first responders kept in the cab within reach. It tells you how to isolate the area and what safety steps to take in the first 30 minutes of an incident. Next question. What does the yellow section of the ERG contain? A list of hazardous materials by UN identification number. This allows you to quickly look up a chemical if you only know the 4-digit number on the placard. Let's move on. What does the blue section of the ERG contain? A list of hazardous materials alphabetically by proper shipping name. Use this section if you have the shipping papers and know the name of the chemical. Continuing. What does the green section of the ERG contain? Initial isolation and protective action distances. This tells you how far to evacuate people if there is a toxic leak or a water-reactive spill. Next point. What is the correct immediate action if a HazMat driver discovers a leak? Stop safely away from people and ignition sources, and consult the ERG. Keep bystanders away and call for emergency services. Never try to fix a chemical leak yourself. Let's keep going. What Tennessee-specific reporting is required after an incident? Notify the National Response Center and the Tennessee Highway Patrol. You must also file a written report with PHMSA within 30 days of the incident. Next question. Where is parking a HazMat vehicle prohibited in Tennessee? Within 300 feet of a tunnel, bridge, or populated building. You must also avoid parking near crowds or open flames unless an absolute emergency occurs. Let's move on. What are the attendance requirements for Division 1? 1, 2, or 1, 3 explosives? The vehicle must be attended at all times by qualified representative. The person must be aware of the hazard and able to move the vehicle if necessary. Continuing. What is the minimum convoy separation distance for Division 1? 1 explosives? At least 300 feet. This prevents a fire or explosion in one vehicle from immediately affecting the others in the convoy. Next point. What HazMat route requirements apply in Tennessee? You must use federally designated routes and TDOT-approved corridors. Certain chemicals are strictly prohibited from using specific tunnels or urban streets in cities like Nashville or Memphis. Let's keep going. What is a Local Emergency Planning Committee, LEPC? A community body that coordinates HazMat emergency response. Tennessee carriers may be required to notify the LEPC for certain high-risk shipments. Next question. What is the security plan requirement for HazMat carriers? A written plan for high-consequence dangerous goods. It must cover personnel security, en route security, and how to keep shipment information safe. Let's move on. What are high-consequence dangerous goods, HCDG? Materials that could cause mass casualties if weaponized. This includes specific explosives, toxic inhalation hazards, and certain radioactive materials. Continuing, what must a HazMat driver do if a shipment appears tampered with? Do not move the vehicle and notify law enforcement immediately. Follow your company's security plan and wait for the authorities to clear the load. Next point, what is the compatibility rule when loading HazMat? Certain classes must be segregated because they can react dangerously. The segregation table tells you which items, like explosives and corrosives, can never be in the same trailer. Let's keep going. What must a driver do if instructed to load incompatible materials? Refuse the load. Federal law is clear. You cannot legally transport materials that could react violently if they touch. Next question. What fire extinguisher is required on a Tennessee CDL HazMat vehicle? A10B, C-rated extinguisher, or 25B, C extinguishers. It must be fully charged and easily accessible in the cab. Let's move on. What is the penalty for transporting HazMat without a valid endorsement? Federal and state fines, CDL disqualification, and potential criminal charges. It is a serious violation that can end your commercial driving career. Continuing, what is the maximum federal civil penalty for a serious HazMat violation? Up to $84,107 per day per violation. If the violation causes death or serious injury, the fine can reach nearly $200,000. Next point, what does a white diamond placard with a black propeller symbol indicate? Class 7, radioactive material. Responders must take extreme care around these loads to avoid radiation exposure. Let's keep going. What does a red placard with a white flame symbol indicate? Class 3, flammable liquid, or Class 2. 1. Flammable gas. The text on the placard will specify whether it is a liquid or a gas. Next question. What does a yellow placard with a flame over a circle indicate? Class 5. 1. Oxidizer. These materials make fires burn much more intensely by providing extra oxygen. Let's move on. What does a white placard with a black skull and crossbones indicate? Class 6. 1. Poison or toxic material. This warns of substances that are dangerous if touched, swallowed, or inhaled. Continuing, what does a black and white vertically striped placard with the number 9 indicate? Class 9. Miscellaneous, hazardous material. These materials are regulated but don't fit into the other specific hazard classes.